Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And we always love talking about the power of education. That's why we're honored to have with us Haley Wood. She's an assistant principal with Dibrell Elementary School with Warren County Schools, and she was recently selected for the inaugural class for the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching Fellows Program. We'll talk all about the Fellows Program. Congratulations. We have a lot of good news to discuss. How are you doing, Haley?
I'm doing really well. I'm very excited to talk to you today. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start with a little bit of your backstory and why you got into this field of education.
I knew from early on, I think I was one of those little girls that had all the stuffed animals lined up, and I was teaching them things. And whenever a textbook would go out of date and at school, I would get to take it home and teach with my kids. Or my stuffed animals, I should say. For me, there was never really any other option. I never really entertained that I would be anything other than a teacher. But I think God put that on my heart at an early age, that this was something that I would like. But then also at the same time, I had tremendous educators from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade that made the job look fun and like something that I would want to do, something that would make an impact. And so to me, it was a no-brainer. Here lately, we've been asking that question of what's your why? And I kind of added a layer of thinking, the reason why I stayed. So to me, it was easy to be a teacher, but if you know about education, you know, we're losing teachers. And for me, the reason why I stayed is once I became a teacher, I was lucky enough to get my first job as a second grade teacher, which I'll go on record of saying that's the best job in the whole world. So if you're looking for a job, second grade teacher's where it's at. But meeting those kids, really that first day, that first year, I knew in my heart, this is where I needed to be, and I couldn't leave them. Not everybody gets to have the same home life that we do, and that maybe some of the listeners do. And there are some kids who the only outlet, the only person they have that may truly love them could be the teacher in the classroom. So once I saw that that's who I was to some of my kids, it was like, I'm going to stay in this forever. My role has changed. I'm not in the classroom anymore. I was able to transition to an instructional coach. So for the last 6 years, I've been an instructional coach, and that person basically works with the classroom teachers to support them, because we all know that teaching is probably the hardest job while also being the most rewarding. So we sit down with teachers, we help plan curriculum, we help them understand the rigor of the standards and what's expected of the kids. And I was really blessed to do that job for 6 years, because I know, and I think a lot of people agree, that the biggest change agent that we have for kids is that classroom teacher. So the more well-prepared they are, the more they understand their content and what they should be doing, they can make a bigger impact for kids. And then now I am just starting my first year as an assistant principal of Dibrell Elementary School, which is a pre-K-8 school in Warren County, Tennessee. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how, the past 12 years can help build on what I'm about to do. I'm looking forward to it.
When you look at the culture of creating success, the why you stayed, and this will carry us over into the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching in terms of preparing and equipping and empowering, but talk about some of the things that really helped you as a teacher, helped you as the instructional coach, and now are helping you kind of build that culture of excellence as an assistant principal. And so talk about some of the through lines around the academic success, but really the well-rounded student that really equip you and your team to drive success for the benefit of the students.
I would say for me, it always starts with building that relationship first. So while I was still a teacher, or at least a classroom teacher, it was so important to me to make that family community, and for my kids to know that without a doubt, no matter what happened, I was going to love them. And truly, they loved me too. We had the best relationships, and we both made mistakes, and we showed each other grace, and we learned so much, both of us, you know, that whole year and those years that I was able to be a teacher. And I try to take that same approach now as an instructional coach and an assistant principal. If you don't have the relationships with the teachers and the faculty in your building, you're not going to make the change that we want to see. So for one, I think relationships is key, but then also building the capacity of others. So as an instructional coach, as an assistant principal, it's really about you building the capacity of others so they can pour into kids. And, you know, sometimes we don't get to do the direct work of making that change for the kids, but we're a part of that process. So that to me is really important, making sure that I am still learning, still growing, learning everything I can to pour into someone else so that it can directly affect the kids.
Talk about the role for the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching. So describe NIET and then describe the relationship with you all in the school district.
So our district, Warren County, we partnered with NIET, which is National Institute for Excellence in Teaching, about 5 years ago. We knew we had a need. We knew that our students weren't achieving at the level that we knew that they were able to. We knew our teachers were working hard, but we weren't sure why those results weren't transitioning over. And so we partnered with them, and I have been blessed to work with 3 of the very best NIET specialists. And so they come into our district, they help support administration, they really help support teachers and seeing what's the most important thing to focus on. With this fellowship, they picked 12 teacher leaders across the country. So we have people 2 in Arizona, 1 in Texas, Missouri, Indiana, 5 in Louisiana, South Carolina, and then I was represented for Tennessee. So we have come together. All of us are teacher leaders in that we may not directly have a classroom that is tied to us, but we support dozens of classroom teachers, and that support will then direct to the kids. So NIET is really just about building up the capacity of the teachers that you serve, because we know they're the ones on the front lines trying to do everything they can to help their kids be proficient and like you said, well-rounded, not just smart on the end of the year test, but to be really learners, lifelong learners. So we partner with them. We work a lot on making sure that we're not just thinking about kids as the number of being proficient on the end of the year test. Like we have TCAP in Tennessee. We work a lot at bringing student work to the table, the way they really worked out a math problem or their actual writing, and using that to tell us what the student needs next. Because just knowing if a student is proficient or not proficient, that doesn't really tell you what to do next, how to really support them. So we worked a lot when we were in Arizona at our boot camp. We had a boot camp with all the fellows of how to analyze student work and really look at it on an individual basis for those kids and see what do we need to do to fill those achievement gaps to make it where all students are getting exactly what they need. It may be individual, but to support them on their path to mastery.
So as you mentioned, only 12, you representing the state of Tennessee, which is awesome. Congratulations again. Over 250 applied for this. And so when you look at the power of this fellows program, you've got the peer-to-peer, support network, the institutional knowledge being shared and looking forward. When you look at the pieces of the customization, the one-to-one, in terms of what does a student need to thrive and be successful, but yet across the board in a larger picture, how do we change paradigms and learning models and things to really ultimately put the student body as a whole in a greater position for success? Talk about that kind of fine line in between of like doing, for one, customize, but also then at a larger scale, some of the things that you all are looking at, just like you're talking about with the math, what are some of those things that you all are really looking to tackle?
So that was one of the great things I think about bringing, like you said, 12 of us together, and all of them are exceptional. They are brilliant. They are all so smart. But also they're so generous in their knowledge. Nobody's keeping it to themselves, because I think at our core, we all believe that if what I can offer can help a kid in Arkansas, then let's do it. Like that's where we want to be. So it's really important to me that we all are sharing exactly what our skill sets are, and they can be different. we do look, because you're right, it's, you want to help everybody at one time, but then you also know that really if you can help one student, you're making that gain. And that's been one of the biggest, I think, challenges, but also a really great part of education is sometimes it's just one kid that day. And if you make a difference with that one kid, you can build on it. Some of the work that I know we're going to be looking at is we already, discussed that student work, but kind of getting behind what the students are thinking outside of just like multiple choice answers, really trying to dig in. What do they know? What we found often, and maybe some old school way of thinking, is you don't just get an X on your paper. All kids know something. You have a step towards that standard. So trying to find that strength-based feedback for kids. Okay, you know this. Now the next thing you need is one more piece to build onto that layer, but they're not coming with, no knowledge on it. So that's part of the job as NIET Fellows and assistant principals, is helping teachers see, okay, the kids know something. They can start somewhere, and it's our job to help build on that to make them be more successful.
And I like too what you're saying on even going back to what you said before, you continually learn. You make mistakes. There's grace on both sides, right? Like as students, as teachers, as administration, building a relationship based on trust. And, the fact that we're all lifelong learners and we're here to make each other better long-term, not just in this one moment on what do you know, it's how can you continually learn and develop and grow. And I think all of that is a recipe for success, especially long-term. When you look at what this means for you as a leader, as an assistant principal, especially bringing on new team members, talk about that and how it's going to encourage and equip new teachers to come in, because as you mentioned, we need more to come into this field. So talk about it from that vantage point.
We do. I would say I'm so blessed to be not only a fellow, but also in Warren County schools. I have several of my good friends are instructional coaches in the district. And so to be able to bring back any of this knowledge, not only to my school now, but also to the other 10 schools within our district, that we can really take all that we're learning and impact our entire community. And honestly, I hope beyond that. I hope that more and more of Tennessee is able to do that. But we do have, some of the teachers here at the school that I'm now at are new in their career, or also maybe have a different path towards education. They have a degree in something outside of education and have said, hey, I'm going to try teaching, and they come in. So being able to support those teachers who maybe have a non-traditional background of how they got here, to me, is going to be huge. One of the biggest concerns facing education right now is that we don't have enough teachers to fill these slots. And we are blessed in our district that we're doing pretty well, but some of these larger districts in Nashville and others, they're missing hundreds of positions. And that means that students are going without teachers to support them. So that's something I think I am starting to get passionate. And I realize now that could become another mission in my life, is to think about, okay, if there are young people considering going into college to become teachers, to really support them in that, because we need the best of the best in education. We want them to be in education because that makes the impact on every other career in the world. So I was with a teacher the other day, and they said, anytime I see a college student that's going to be a teacher or a first-year teacher, I always pause and say, thank you. Thank you for coming into this work, because you might not hear it enough. You probably won't, just like in any other profession, but to really call out those teachers who are, it's definitely a service to become a teacher. Your heart is really in there. There's some sacrificing that it takes to be a teacher, but the reward far outweighs any of that when you really get to see it with kids. So I'm hopeful that this experience not only will benefit my school at Dibrell, but all of the schools in Warren County, and have that trickle effect. And maybe it gets more people, if we build the capacity in others. And then it kind of goes back to what I was saying when I was little. I saw my teachers as just these superheroes that made this job look like the best job in the world. If we can get to that point, then we can keep creating that next generation of teacher.
When you look at the community aspect, the community plays an important role in plugging in, offering resources, connections, relationships, mentoring. Talk about how the community can get involved and not only support Dibrell, but also too, just school education across Tennessee?
Absolutely. So I'll start with, from what I have been told about Dibrell, the community here really rallies behind this school. It's a community school. It's K-8. They want so much for these kids to just get everything they can out of their elementary school experience. So they're supporting in any way they can. So that would be, the first thing is if you have kids in a school anywhere in the state of Tennessee or across the country, get involved in your school. Even if it's just to, a PTO night or a reading night, get involved because that makes a difference for the teachers. But a lot of it still starts at home, and how you're interacting with your own child makes a difference for those teachers, particularly that birth to 5. If we can get as many families as possible to understand how critical those 5 years are for kids and the work that they're doing when they're just tucking them in at night and reading a story, that is going to make the biggest difference when they're in kindergarten. And if they do that consistently, those kids are going to be ready for kindergarten, going to be ready for the rigor of the standards of what they are now. So that would be my advice. Get involved in your school. They don't always want money. They need money, I'll say that, but they don't want just your money. They want your time. They want your effort. They just need your support, truly. There's a lot of opportunities where you can come and read to a class if that's something you're interested in, or if your skill set is more in crafting or organizing. I mean, everybody has a skill set that could be contributed to a school. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. I guarantee you they're not going to turn you away.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap up. I know that you're coming on technically representing the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching. So give us that website and then any other websites you would like the community to connect in. And so where do we go to carry this conversation forward?
Awesome. So if you want to follow our journey, we have a hashtag. We're hashtag NIET Fellows. But if you go to NIET.org, that is where you can learn a lot about the organization, all that they do, because it looks different in every state in the way that they are supporting schools and communities. But also a lot of our journey will be able to share blogs and different things that we're doing in our district and how it's making an impact. So if you go there and you follow along with our journey and just learn about the organization, I don't think you'll be disappointed, because they are top-notch, best organization that I've worked with. And I'm just really honored to be a part of this fellows group and just continue my learning to help support my district.
Well, Haley, thank you for all you do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to talk to you.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.